So I'm glad that you came. You agreed to come today. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions. So I guess my first question would be to you is, was it your desire to become a nurse, or do you believe that God chose this as your life's work?
It was my desire. I always had an interest in healthcare. Initially, I did want to be a surgeon, but when I realized that you had to go to school for 8 years, and I think God knew that about me, that whatever I was going to do, I wanted to do it quick and in a hurry. So then I started looking at nursing, but I think that was God working behind the scenes even at that moment.
Okay, that's usually how it happens. You're going in a direction that you think that you chose, but ultimately it's God's decision.
Exactly.
Your outcome.
Exactly.
So how long have you been in the field of nursing?
I've been a nurse for 31 years, and I think that I really love what I do, and I believe that, it's ministry, and He has called me to do that, and I've been doing oncology nursing for 23 years.
So, I think it's commendable, what you do, as I said earlier. When did you recognize that this was ministry for you?
When I started doing oncology nursing, I'm originally from Philadelphia, and just a brief history, I worked for 7.5 years at the Hospital University of Pennsylvania as a surgical nurse. And I always say God has a sense of humor. I love surgical nursing, and basically that was taking care of patients who had surgical procedures. And I always made a comment, I never wanted to do anything medical, work with any patients with any medical, And then I left HUB, I went to Temple University, I was there for 8 months, and then I started doing what's called travel nursing, and that's how I ended up in Baltimore. And I had friends in Washington, D.C. I did want to do a travel assignment in D.C. I didn't care where they put me, I just wanted to be in D.C., and it happened to be an oncology floor, medical oncology. And I fell in love with medical oncology, and that is when I realized this is really ministry. And I said, okay, God, you have a sense of humor. You have me in the very area that I never thought that I would be in.
That's how He does.
Yes, He does.
And I think it's funny because I think that we should recognize once we say, I don't want to,
Right.
That should be our light bulb. Ding. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
That's true, because when I did the travel, I went to Baltimore, then D.C., and then I went to California. I knew I did want to come back to D.C. because I really had a passion for oncology nursing, and this was God. I said, okay, God, let me do one more travel assignment, and then I'm going to come back to D.C., take a permanent position. I wanted to go to Charleston, South Carolina. I couldn't get a position. I said, okay, let me go to Atlanta. I couldn't get a position. This is God again, because God knows us. And He knows His daughter was like, okay, 3 weeks tops, I need to have me a position. And He knows that about you. So, and we were driving back from California from that position to come back to Philly, because you have like a 3-week break. And I'm like, okay, God, I need a job. And He knows, again, okay, she's not going to be able to handle this after 3 weeks of having a position. So I said, well, you know what, since nothing is opening up, let me go ahead and call the floor that I had been on, the oncology floor. I spoke with the head nurse, and I said, I want to accept a permanent position, but I would like to do one more travel, which was a 13-week. And she said, oh my God, no problem, we'll make it happen. So I was content. And then you do know the next day, that was during an era of answer machines. There was a message on my machine for a position in Charleston. But I since realized that was God. So I believe God closed all of those doors, because that is where I was supposed to be in oncology nursing. And as a result of that, ministry developed, came out of that.
Amen.
So again, God has
I think now we're gonna see 2 questions from the audience. Anyone have a question? We have a regular here. So I'm just gonna walk the mic to him.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We're gonna take it.
Hello. I've heard much about you, and I so admire you. What I want to know is, do you believe that God has called you just for nursing, or do you think that you will ever, do one-on-one ministry from the pulpit, or, go out and evangelize or anything like that? Do you believe God may have called you for that also?
Yes.
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 Can you kind of expound on that?
Well, I never got, I didn't feel any stuff. I mean, no. Well, I have, that had come forth as a prophecy several times to me from you, Apostle Moore, and several other ministers. And God also, God does deal with me in dreams, and I did have that dream in 2006. So I have recognized that there is, I guess for this season right now, this is what I'm doing, but I have also acknowledged that there is more to what God has for me to do. So this is just a part. So I have recognized that there is more to the story.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 2013 now. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Any more questions?
Okay, and in my experience with knowing you thus far, with how you have allowed God to use you in opening up your home and finding other places to bring ministry together than others that need, I guess, like a specialist.
Right. That term, yeah.
What type of place do you find that that's an area that you see God continuing to use you in, or actually taking it abroad like you did your travel nursing? Would you see God using you in that way to take it like in a traveling mode to have that set up as well in different places?
You know, I guess I never thought about that, but that's food for thought, because people were really blessed, and I do like that term specialist, because a lot of times as Christians or people that may not know the Lord, sometimes you do need that one-on-one that you may not be able to get in a general setting. And I think that is needed, especially today, because people are really hurting, and I always say people are this close from losing it. I mean, for example, with the shooting at the Navy Yard in D.C., and then the shooting in Kenya, the mall. So I just think people they're losing their hope, and they don't know where else to go. And sometimes in your larger, your more general sessions, they're not able to get that one-on-one. But when you have like the church home meetings, which is how the apostles started back in the biblical times, they are able to get that one-on-one and to be ministered to. So to answer your question, I see that being. I think that's feasible.
I think we have one more question.
What exactly is the field that you specialize in?
Okay, good question. It's oncology, and basically taking care of people who have been diagnosed with cancer. So what I do, I work at, it's a Washington Cancer Institute in Washington, D.C., and it's an outpatient infusion center, so I administer chemotherapy. And that's ministry in itself. And we also, there's a lot of teaching, and also to help patients and the caregivers and the family to navigate the healthcare system. Because when you have that diagnosis, a lot of times everything else can go out of the window. And a lot of times, in addition to that diagnosis, so many other challenges are coming in your direction. And sometimes you need that person just to be able to help you navigate. And I'm telling you, there's something simple, like we've had patients and we've taken care of very prominent people, but something as simple as, oh my God, you don't know how nice it is to have a smile. Just someone to say hello, because we had one patient to tell us, oh my God, did they send you all to a class to be nice? And you'd be so, because people are just, got so much going on, and sometimes you don't recognize that. So that's ministry in itself, just to be able to pray, because a lot of times people are going through so much, but while they're in there getting their treatment, just to have peace, just to because there was a patient, and there's some of a patient that I took care of, and she's a minister. And she has a lot of responsibilities, and I just said, you know what, while you're in this chair, you're not ministering. I said, you are, her name was Sally. I'm like, you're Sally, you're not minister. You're Sally right now. Let us give to you. I said, you don't leave all of that other stuff, you know, outside the door right now. You don't have to be the minister. Just be you, and let us handle the rest. And that's ministry.
God bless.
Excuse me, can I ask one question, please?
Sure.
I'm so interested in this. This is.
Yeah, so this is very important. I know in the field of ministry and through deliverance ministry with Apostle Connors Review, which we're under the head thing, also in importance. But we have seen miracle healings. I wanted to know, as I heard you speak of prayer, knowing or believing that you're a minister, I'm sure that you pray for those people. But have you ever experienced anyone being healed from cancer in your
Right, that's a good question. And a lot of times we cannot pray, you know, direct, right. You know, we have a chaplain and things like that. But no, I have seen, like I'll tell some of my patients, I'm a Kekebernard, I do pray in my private time, and I have seen that when they do go for CAT scans or additional testing to check on the status of their condition, that there is improvement, and we've seen patients where they've gone into remission. And then I guess what we see a lot is God may heal through the medication, but that is my prayer,